we count like 10 millions of direct supporters that are beyond, always pushing us or helping us or giving some kind of help for us. But the thing is how to create a network of influence, a network of influencers by using the digital opportunity, digital transformation, and for me it's a big opportunity to do different things. In this region, many things are painful, many things. For me, the main one maybe today is a combination of inequity, ignorance, arrogance, and maybe indifference. This is kind of the soup of the problem that we have in the region, that is expressed more directly in migration crisis, in violence crisis in different countries, the polarization, political polarization, and of course, different difficulties that we also experience by the climate change, by the variabilities of the climate. All these things are, creating big burden in the region without big amount of resources, especially because we were for some time very dependent of the help from the other continents, especially Europe, but now we don't have this because they are more focused on their own problems and the problems of Africa and MENA, the closer neighborhood. We are very far of them, and we need to survive by ourselves in this region. This is the thing that for me is important. We need to protect our neighborhood, and our neighborhood is very complex. The north is the more calm one, but it's, to say that the north is calm is a little, paradoxical. but it's at least a part of the territory, maybe with the exclusion of Mexico. Mexico is boiling up in this moment. Violence is one of the biggest in this continent, and also the migration crisis is very big. Narco traffic is very bad in Mexico, and causing a lot of levels of corruption in different layers of the society. The same is happening in the Triangle of the North, in Central America, Guatemala, Salvador, and Honduras. We have big problems there, especially on migration and violence. Focus on women, especially the attacks of women is really incredible in these three countries. Then we have Nicaragua, that is another crazy country, suffering a lot, in very silent mood, with dictatorial, presence of some leaders that are there dealing with the country, that causing big problems for the communities. In the south, we have Colombia, that is received on top of the problem that my country is experiencing in the last 30, 50 years. Now we have 1.6 million migrants from Venezuela in the country, and the country is absorbing them, supporting them very well. I am very proud of that because I see kind of solidarity in real, with not big amount of resources, but at least giving to these people some opportunities. But the crisis of migrants is more than that. It's more than 4.6 million migrants going down to Ecuador, to Peru, to Argentina, Chile, and Uruguay, Brazil, and altogether it's 4.6 million. In a big diaspora that is floating around with not good resources. On top of it, we have our own inequities in each one of the countries, polarization. Ecuador is boiling up, Peru is boiling up, Brazil is boiling up. All the countries are, it's like I remember a movie that the name was like The World is Crazy, something like that. It's like that in our region now. Everything is, our leaders are really, causing big problems, and the citizenship is not paying enough attention of how to be, actors of democracy on controlling this kind of tendencies. We need to do the job there. But as a Red Cross, we need to pay attention to our matters and play in a neutral way. In the Caribbean, we have the main problem that we have in the Caribbean is, of course, the problem in Haiti. Haiti is the big challenge of our region. It's the more poorest country, the most poor economy in our region. Level of health is a disaster. They are now very close to have a civil war. This moment, this morning I have a teleconference with my delegate in Haiti. You have American Red Cross people there working with us. We we were obliged to pull out all the delegates from Haiti. They are now in Dominican Republic. I don't know if you know that, but your delegates were obliged to pull out from. These kind of things are happening in our region. It's a very, very alive region, very, very complicated region. But all this also bring a lot of possibilities for us. Maybe I was taking this morning some notes to try to recall some ideas that I want to share with you. The first one is, before to go to my list, the big ones, maybe it's important to highlight the importance of American Red Cross. American Red Cross is like a big sister of the region. You were the ones that caused a big problem for the world because you create the federation, my federation, our federation. Louis Davison was the one that was creating the federation 100 years ago. And I was bringing something that is like symbolic. This pin that I have is the pin of the 100 years, but I have one that is more symbolic. I think I have one. Yeah, I have three. Sorry, I have not for everyone, but I have a list. But I have this. That is the heart of the federation in the region, and I will give this symbolically to your boss here in the. And I have two more with the 100-year anniversary, but I will allow you to decide how to manage.
Raffle them off.
And I promise my next visit I will bring more for everyone.
Yeah. All right, we'll do a
yeah. Sorry, I was normally I am very well prepared when I have this official visit, but this is not official visit. It's just
budgets are budgets.
I will give this one too. I have another one.
No, just take it.
But it's okay. It's okay. I can get another one. Now we can make happy 3 people more, and that's no, but the question is American Red Cross is important for our region. It's important domestically, very important domestically for people that is coming from different countries of the region. But it's also very important for the region in the neighborhood and the wider neighborhood in the Americas, and it's important in the world because I think American Red Cross has been part of the operations of the Federation in Africa and MENA, in Asia Pacific, in everywhere, in Europe. East Europe and West Europe. I think we need to see this value well. But my colleagues, I know that the leaders of American Red Cross, Gail, the big one, she is very focused on domestic matters. That is correct. I think we don't have the right to go outside if we are not doing the job inside. We need to avoid to be light outside and dark inside at home. You need to be serious on that. And I see that good behavior of the American Red Cross that for me is very, very clear. But you are also making big effort to remain yourselves as a part of the federation, meaningful part of the federation, working very well, giving resources, giving delegates ideas, and working very well with the federation. And to be very clear, I was experienced in the last year, especially kind of incremental action to work together in the world, especially in the region, in Americas. And our menu of work, that is also very interesting for all of us, is divided in 10 main matters that for me are kind of serving to express in articulated way the challenges that we have in the region. Challenge number 1 is about information, evidence. Everything that is about managing information. Information means, kind of diagnosis process that we need to be able to offer something. We need, before to talk about remedies, we need to have exactly the vision of which is the problem and which is the opportunity that we have to help. Because we are not omnipotent. We are people that are helping people, normal people helping normal people, and we need to calculate well, calibrate well our capacities. Our symbol is not an armor. Our symbol is like a symbol. It's something that is giving us a space to work together for people that is working well. And hello, how are you? Hi. And the first one is this, information management. Information management is very important in our lives, and I see big space for American Red Cross to be an actor. You are an actor of information management. You have systems, you have ideas, you have people well prepared, connection with universities, volunteers working on that, doing GIS, mapping, different things that are helping the operations, the analysis, the tendencies, how to analyze well what and where we can go for in a very, intelligent way, smart way. Smart information means smart action too. That for me, this is one thing. And on that, we have, the need to recall and recover information about each one of the national societies. We need to know exactly what is the description of one national society. How is the governance of the national society? How is the management? How is the operation? How are the operations of the national society? How are the programs that you have in long term? Which are the capacity that you have in support services, financial services, administrative services, logistics? How are you on that? In order to see exactly the capacity of absorption. This is one thing that we need to have in our information management system. And we are working on it. And I think we are advancing little by little with big challenges because the level of disparity that we have in the region is big. We are not, you are a national society that is producing like 6 million units of blood per year, something like that. I remember some figure that I read in the information. You are a monster, And then I have to see the St. Kitts and Nevis Red Cross, that is 200 volunteers, and that's it. And a small headquarters in the capital of the small island. But this is a national society for me. It's a national society that is maybe, less than one small chapter in United States. It's like a component of a small chapter in United States. But we need to respect them as a one national society with citizenship agenda, with the country behind. This is something very interesting in this system of work that we have. And information management requires this calibration on how to measure the things, respecting the rights and the realities of each country and each community. That's very important for us. Then we are also doing some measures on operations, response, and we have a Go platform and SIMS and different systems that are now working together. And we want to have an Esperanto of the information management because during long time people were inventing things without, integration. And for me and for us, because I am an engineer, for me order is magic. That's without order there's no magic. There is nothing is going to happen. But also being very pragmatic all my life, as a fireman, I'm pragmatic. You need to extinguish the fires and prevent the fires. There, not more other things. Those are the matters. And for me, to do that, you need to be well prepared for both. Long-term thinking and short-term preparation to act. That's very important calibration in the organization. And information management is about that. How to calculate the capacity to operate, the capacity to respond, the capacity to increase the sense of collaboration with communities, because we have very big amount of hidden volunteers that are in the communities. We are not alone. When something happened in Mexico City, for instance, during the last earthquake, they have outside of the main headquarters in Mexico City, like 70,000 people doing queues to be volunteers in the Red Cross. They said, this is another disaster. You can imagine in this headquarters having a queue of 70,000 people trying to be volunteers and shouting and crying and saying, we want to do that now. No, this is like the intention. But then we need to, absorb all this and put these people in the pipeline to prepare them, to train them, and to create a system behind.
I guess you could do that, right?
Yeah. you know that. But this is, information management is about that, and we are working very well to do automatization, accountability on these matters, and presenting the people mapping and graphics that are helping for the decisions. And the other point is we are suffering a lot because we lack financial people, logistic people, and administrative people in the organization. We lack IT people too. And these kind of support services are very critical. It's impossible to do any operation without these support services behind. If you don't have that clearly, you are going to.
So can I ask just a clarifying question? So is it so each society has their own system, and the federation provides technical support to them, or is there in like South America, is there like one kind of
this is the
system
point.
they stand up? So
This is the thing that we are doing now. We are creating this system that is a system for all. And we are including all the practices. We are not inventing the wheel. We are trying to inject some of the good practices in the matrix that we create. The matrix is exactly 4 columns. Column number 1 is the information about the national societies. Column number 2, operations. Column number 3, long-term programs. And column number 4, support services. Then we put all this together and we create horizontal analysis, because we have vertical for each one of the columns, but we have horizontal sense of aggregation, and this is a delivery system. You have the inputs, the processes, and the outputs. Outside output means services or donations or giving people something. And this is the vision that we have: simplicity and practicity on the information management system. We are bringing that, and we are injecting all this to not only for the Americas region, but for the wider federation. We are pioneers on that, to put in order. This is a kind of the first thing that we are doing. This is a kind of, it's connected with PMAR, it's connected with the planning system of the organization, but information management is very important. That's one thing that I want to highlight in this exchange with you. The second thing is about something that is interesting in our case, at least as a federation. We are in Panama today. Panama is a kind of small country, very well prepared in the center of our continent, and it's a hub, by definition, it's a hub. And as a hub, we have there 2 big locations. We have our office, the office of the Federation there is like 100 people, 40 international, 60 national, and we are delivering services for all the national societies in the region and connecting each one of the national societies with the others and creating, different tendencies, different actions that I will mention. But on this side, we create with the government of Panama a big warehouse, big logistics center in Panama that is beautiful. It's new one. It's part of my main actions in the last 4 years. We managed to have a big warehouse that I invite you to be there one day. You will be proud to have this setup. It's very federation. It's the setup for all the national societies. But as any hub, again, my mind as an engineer, hub without systems is nothing, And for me, the main thing in the hub is who is connecting with the hub, who is using the hub. And for me, it's the 35 national societies of the region. And we need to create this kind of sense of, networking and connection and pipelines and links. And now we have five kind of agreements with countries. One is Argentina, other is Peru, other is Colombia, and then we have Dominican Republic and Jamaica. We are in process to create satellites of the hub to put prepositioning material there. And then the third layer is 100 warehouses that we have in the 35 national societies located, mapped out, and we can also describe our capacity to have a big pipeline to anyone. There is no one in the region that has this capacity, not any entity, only the Red Cross. And we need to show that. And this is the kind of sense of aggregation that we need to show. Of course, American Red Cross is part of it. You have important capacities on warehousing, and I see the capacity to integrate all this. We are working on that. This is the big project for us. It's the hub with the systems of the region. Focus on, by now, in logistics, but also very soon focus in coordination, in learning, and in influencing, how to influence the governments on improve the role of the Red Cross through the auxiliary role. Because we have, as a matter of practice of the Red Cross, as you know well, we are part of the act of law in each country. We are not, by chance, a national society. We are accepted by the country as a neutral, independent, and impartial organization in each country. That is very difficult, to be like that in any country, and you know that well. In this country it's like that, but in any country, there is no one country in which I see, the easy way to be neutral, independent, and impartial. It's not possible. It's difficult. No one understands neutrality if you are not helping them. The logic of the politics that are in charge of the logic of the opposition. Everyone wants to be, owning the Red Cross to do something that is not about serving people, but it's about, creating problems for the other, partisan or the opponent, and we need to see how to manage that kind of relations. But it's very interesting that the situation that we have in the region. For instance, on this matter of the satellite and the hub, we are working in Bahamas, also with a big team from American Red Cross. We have a big team there. 0.5% of the team of the Federation is American Red Cross people now in Bahamas. I am talking about 40 people, 20 are from American Red Cross. They are embedded in the team, and we are working together. And we are the next week, our team is going to be with them in Washington to prepare some matters on Haiti, Bahamas, coordinating things. But this is very interesting because Bahamas is almost in your neighborhood. It's kind of the border. It's like it's part of America, USA. It's in many ways, and it's very interesting the things that happen in this region. For Bahamas, you and us, we get big amount of money in short time, like in the fire in Notre Dame, in Paris. It was people giving money to them, but we have problems that are very complicated, big disasters, people dying in Haiti and in Venezuela and in the Triangle of the North, and we have no money. And yesterday we celebrate the day of foods, the Global Food Day, and commemorating is better. The main thing is the situation in which you have people dying for malnourishment and starvation, and people dying for obesity. That's the main problem. This is the word, the lack of balance, creating problem. If we can have some kind of smart use of the foods, we can do better preparation for communities, and we can do a lot for saving people and respecting people, protecting the dignity of people, and we need to do that together. And that's kind of things are happening in our region. For this reason, it's important to have a hub system that could calibrate the level of distribution in the region on goods, on people, on money that we deliver for saving lives in a good way. That's kind of thing that we are working on. The other point is about excellence of response. We have something that we call PER. It's the preparation for efficient response. It's a project that is also supported by American Red Cross, Canadian Red Cross, and Mexican Red Cross, Colombian Red Cross. From our region, we are pioneers for the world, and we are doing a lot, and we are fixing kind of an updated system of response, focused on simplicity, and is working very well, really, and now is part of the global systems in the Federation. We are working with that. It's very good because from domestic side, we are injecting to the global side the real way to work, because at the end, everything happens at local level. The reality of life is happening at local level. It's not, global is kind of intellectual invention, but globality means the summary, the aggregation of things that happen in very local setups. And we are working on this very well. Then we are also having my number 5 is diplomacy, humanitarian diplomacy, that is about IDRL, International Disaster Response Law, complementary role with the governments, legal status agreement in countries. For instance, in this continent we have 14 legal status agreements. That means the right to have an office as a diplomatic office of the Federation representing the 191 national societies in this country to protect the independency, the neutrality, and the impartiality of the national society and the global things. Of course, we don't have that in USA by now, but maybe it's not needed by now, but maybe it's needed. We need to think about that. But we have, by magic, I am going to Venezuela in 10 days to have a meeting with the Minister of Foreign Affairs to sign, very likely to sign the status agreement in Venezuela. Because with that, we can protect the operations that we are doing in Venezuela. Because now we are very, very weak. Living in Venezuela without the status agreement is like having people in contraband inside of the country. And this government could capture one of our people because we are bringing money or bringing elements to the country without kind of following. We are following all the rules. We are trying to manage all these. Well, we have some papers, but this is a very complicated government, and outside we have two governments of Venezuela. One is the government that is kind of artificial government outside of Venezuela, and the other one is the real one that is there because it's there. It's not possible for us to say no. We are paying attention to the government that is outside. These guys are going to fire us from the country, and we need to pay attention on how to manage this diplomacy, influencing people to respect the action of the Red Cross in a very good way. We are doing that in Colombia, in Venezuela, in Haiti, in many countries in the region, Honduras, and the best legal status agreement that we have is in Panama. Is that the reason why we have the hope in Panama and everything? Because we are very well protected in Panama. But we have 14 status. Sorry.
No, I was just wondering, what kind of impact are we having in Venezuela and in Haiti? Because I love hearing, it's just from a compassion standpoint that I'm asking. I have a different business question later, but are we having a big impact there?
Yeah, I will comment because it's part of this point 5.
Thank you.
It's on this point that is doing humanitarian diplomacy and serving people in very complex settings. The first one, of course, is Venezuela. Let me describe the operation in Venezuela. We are there in the last 4 years. I was coming back to the region 4 years ago, and I started to push, the agenda in Venezuela, and we put something that we call the horses of Troy, that are projects, small projects, injecting some actions in Venezuela. We start with that, like $1 million in total, small projects, trying to help the national society to survive and to do things. Also, complementing some action that they are doing by magic of the volunteers in a very isolated area. Volunteers, as you know very well, are magic. They do things without us. They don't need the institution. But if we have volunteers well connected with the institution, we are going to be more powerful. And this is happening in Venezuela. And then we connect all this. And in the last 4 years, we gain little by little spaces. And we have two main things now in Venezuela. We have a project of multi-project approach that we call the country plan. The country plan of today is $15 million that is supporting livelihoods, children support actions in schools and in complementary nutritional actions. We have first aid, we have response mechanism helping the national society to absorb better the riots, protests, and different problems that they have. And then we have another big wing that is health. The Venezuelan Red Cross is owning 8 hospitals that are good-sized hospitals and 23 ambulatories. That means like small, medium-sized health posts that have some kind of capacity. We are helping these hospitals to have medicaments, to have equipment. We are doing some kind of, I will not say contraband, but we are going to say we are doing something in favor of creating capacities for them. But now, the reason why we are negotiating with the government strongly the possibility to have a status agreement and facilities to be there and some immunities is we are going to do more, and now we have $50 million project for the hospitals, $50 million in the wing of health and in the wing of programs, long-term programs, is health in emergency and programs 15 million, total 65, and we are underfunded. We have now like 40% of this money that we need, but we are really advancing a lot. Coming from 1 million 4 years ago to like 20 now, and going to be around 65 is very important. Of course, the complexity of the region, the Lima Group, the the politicization among the left wing and right wing in the region is complicated, and people is trying to manipulate the Red Cross. And something happened in the border with Venezuela and Colombia. Some governments were pushing the Red Cross to bring in by force help, aid to Venezuela without respecting the local government. And we say, no, we are not going to participate on that because we are neutral. And of course, some of these governments are not happy with us. People is not happy with neutral people. But neutral people is doing the job because we are inside and we are outside. We are doing the job for people inside Venezuela. We are doing the job for people, migrants, in all the route from Venezuela to any country. 14 countries affected by the migration crisis in the region coming from Venezuela. But we have other migration crises coming from Haiti, from Cuba, and from Africa especially. And we are dealing with all this in the region. That's very interesting. But Venezuela is that. This is the amount, the size of the operation. On the case of, you asked for Bahamas or Haiti? Haiti. Haiti is a very complicated one. Haiti is, we have, I was director of Colombian Red Cross during the earthquake, and we respond strongly. The operation of Haiti in total has a cost of $1.2 million, on that, American Red Cross was like 400 million, so I don't remember exactly the number, but it's big. Big piece of the cake was American Red Cross contribution. And you have also Canadian Red Cross, like 200, and then more than 70 national societies put in money, and governments put in money, and we gained 1.2, and we did a lot. We rebuilt houses, hospitals, schools. All this happened in the first 5 years. That means 2010, 2015. But then the money was, reducing, and the operation was, creating some concrete deliverables and actions that are documented. And we have a very good paper that is a report of all the federation members working together for Haiti within the report. But the problem is in the last 5 years, from 2015 to 2020, that is this period, we has been experiencing a big crisis in Haiti, not support, not money, and we have the kind of problem of non-coordination among the members of the Red Cross in the country. And we are now exploring how to recover that sense of working together. That's the reason why my main conversations are with the official conversation. This is not official, this is informal. My main conversation with American Red Cross and Canadian Red Cross are about putting together all the soldiers, all the elements that we have to really increase our power to deliver in Haiti with less resources that we used to have in the past. That's the Haiti crisis today. The country is boiling up. We are very close to have a civil war. We have people dying in country, not foods, not oil, not gas for the cooking, the cars have not fuel. The situation is very critical, and on top of it, the corruption level is big, including Haiti is very complicated. But despite of that, when you saw to her or his eyes to children in Haiti, you saw kindness, intelligence. The people in Haiti, especially the children, they are able to talk any language. They are kind of, sponges that are capable to survive. And for me, this is the thing. We need to really protect this kind of people every day, all the time. We need to do our job. And Haiti is that. Haiti is a big challenge of our region. We have not enough money. We have not enough resources. Big level of risk. They are attacking people today. This morning, I get the report. The team outside, the guys that are kind of bands around the base camp that we have in Haiti. We bought a base camp in Haiti like 9 years ago as a federation, and we give the base camp to the National Society for them to develop its capacity. Around the base camp, American Red Cross, inside the base camp, American Red Cross is building up a blood bank, and it's almost finished now. But now the government wants the blood bank. You know, this is Haiti, and we don't have the protection. And now that we finalize the blood bank, the government wants to manage the blood bank by themselves. And this is very tricky, and this is the risk that we have in all this region. This risk is here, it's in any country. It's not just in Haiti, but in Haiti, due to the instability, it's very easy for any government to do that without any, legal process. In American Red Cross, any government is going to do that because the citizenship is going to kill them. Yeah, but you have this protection. In Haiti, we are not yet there. We have the same in Colombia, the same in Ecuador. No one wants the blood bank in hands of the government. They prefer to maintain the blood bank in hands of the Red Cross. But this is very, a special situation in which everyone is aligned that the neutrality is giving something to the community. But it's not the case in Haiti. Haiti is very complicated. But despite of that, we are not giving up. We are there. We are, working with Haiti all the time. And as I mentioned, next Tuesday we will have a meeting with your national society in Washington, revising how we can manage some kind of sense of, adaptation to this situation. I think we can do more together. That's the main point in Haiti. Okay, now I will continue with some of the points that I put in my list. Northern Triangle. I don't worry. I will finalize because I don't want to keep that your time. But I just want to deliver some ideas.
I think we kind of set aside an hour. Some of us may be able to stay a little bit longer. So it's,
don't worry, no, up to you.
I'm sorry, I didn't bring
I asked my son to pick up me at 10:30 or so. But it's not no need to do a long thing. But more, I really like the idea that you can do your questions.
I can sit here all day listening to
Yeah.
you.
And the last, the other point, number 6 for me, is the internal diplomacy. Diplomacy among us, treating each other as a family, as a volunteers. I arrived today here and I feel like in my home, because for me the Red Cross is my home. Any Red Cross is my home. Any Red Crescent is my home. When I arrived, very nice lady with nice smile. She was inviting me immediately with not knowing me. She was inviting a coffee to me and very nice, and she knew who I am, and maybe don't, but I think she was